Are single mothers the new government target?
Project 2025 doesn't just demonize single mothers, it wants to change policies to punish single moms and perhaps even remove children from single-parent households. Don't take my word for it, let me show you. Their top priority is promise number 1, restoring the family as the centerpiece of American life. And they specifically call out unmarried mothers as a reason that the American family is in crisis. 400 pages later, when you get to their section on the Department of Health and Human Services, you see that they want to rewrite what the definition of a family is to be comprised of a married mother and father and their children, saying that currently Health and Human Services is too focused on LGBTQ plus equity and subsidizing single motherhood, and saying that these policies should be repealed and replaced by policies that support the formation of stable married nuclear families. It's not enough to be heterosexual, by the way, because they also call out homes with non-related boyfriends as being one of the most dangerous places for a child. And they don't much like surrogacy either. In the context of emerging reproductive technologies, Health and Human Services should never place the desire of adults over the right of a child to be raised by the biological fathers and mothers who conceived them. Here's a horrifying paragraph. The Secretary of Health and Human Services anti-discrimination policy statements should never conflate sex with gender identity or sexual orientation. Rather, the Secretary should proudly state that men and women are biological realities that are crucial to the advancement of life sciences and medical care, and that married men and women are the ideal natural family structure because all children have a right to be raised by the men and women who conceived them. They also want to promote reunification as a part of child support, which is terrifying for domestic violence survivors. And they want to institute a healthy marriage and relationship education program in every state-level high school in America, with curriculum on healthy marriages. Oh, I wasn't kidding about child support either. Child support in the United States should strengthen marriage as the norm, restore broken homes, and encourage unmarried couples to commit to marriage. There's also a line in here that basically says that if you're the parent of a transgender child, that is child abuse. And if everything I've read hasn't sounded too bad, you haven't been reading between the lines, and this line here should clear it up. But the pro-family promises expressed in this book and central to the next conservative president's agenda must go much further than the traditional narrow definition of family issues. Every threat to family stability must be confronted. This resolve should color each of our policies. And any family that's not a heterosexual married family, that's a threat to them.
So here's something we all need to consider. Project 2025, something we have all been concerned about for the past few months, is underway. And the Heritage Foundation, with all their power and influence and money, must be working with Russia, who's working with Iran. And the whole thing about this war in Palestine and Israel is like their tool to get all of us hyper-focused away from democracy so they can install this pig back in there because they want an authoritarian puppet as a superpower. They want to use, it just only makes sense. And we're all buying into it, and we're all fighting amongst each other like lunatics. And we're not saying you don't have valid reasons to be freaked out and horrified and annoyed, and I'm not saying any of that. But that is what's happening.
We have to stop this from becoming our reality. Project 2025 is the GOP's plan for America. The choice is simple: democracy or authoritarianism. Vote blue to save our democracy.
If you haven't heard about Project 2025, stop what you're doing and watch this. Project 2025 is a plan for Trump's second term that would transform America into a far-right Christian nationalist militarized state. You can read the nearly 1,000-page plan for yourself at project2025.org so you can know I am not exaggerating. 3 key facts. Number 1. A mass firing purge that Trump authorized before the 2020 election but never got to act on is at the center of Project 2025. Now, More than 2 million Americans across the country are part of the federal civilian workforce. Scientists at scientific agencies, doctors at the FDA, accountants at the IRS. We want experts doing jobs that require expertise. But more than 50,000 of them would be fired under this plan and replaced with MAGA loyalists who would use the power of these agencies to fundamentally change the nature of America without needing to involve Congress. Number 2. Project 2025 is a far-right Christian nationalist agenda. By page 5, they're already proclaiming pornography should be outlawed, the people who produce and distribute it should be imprisoned, educators and public librarians who purvey it should be classed as registered sex offenders. This would be alarming enough if they were talking about actual pornography. But their definition spans anything that acknowledges the existence of LGBTQ people. They claim on page 451 that families comprised of a married mother, father, and their children are the foundation of a well-ordered nation and healthy society, thereby designating queer people, single parents, unmarried co-parents, and people who get abortions as inherently inferior and a threat to the state. On page 584, they call for the Department of Labor to explicitly give companies permission to discriminate against LGBTQ Americans. On page 450, they also declare that life begins at conception, and abortion is, quote, not healthcare. Accordingly, the FDA would ban abortion medications, as detailed on page 458. The administration would also seek to strip abortion services and contraception from health plans. See pages 483 and 585. Number 3. Project 2025 envisions a militarized police state where law enforcement is answerable only to the president. Maybe you live in a blue city or state and you think, I don't have to worry about my librarians being imprisoned? Guess again. Page 553 lays out how Trump's Justice Department will take over local law enforcement if they don't like how your own elected officials are running things. And they will prosecute district attorneys that they don't agree with. The plan also strips the FBI director of their independence, making them a lackey of the president. See page 549. And on page 104, the plan reduces the number of military generals, so power is more fully consolidated in the commander-in-chief. A central focus of the new police state would be Trump's goal of undertaking
the largest domestic deportation operation in American history.
Immigration enforcement is to be conducted like a war, with the military deployed within the U.S., and millions of immigrants rounded up and thrown into newly constructed mass holding camps. A powerful new border security and immigration agency would replace the Department of Homeland Security. See page 133. This would also mean that DHS's efforts to combat far-right domestic terrorists would stop altogether. One plan that is not in the public document, but that members of the Project 2025 team reportedly disclosed to the Washington Post, is to invoke the Insurrection Act to have the military suppress public protests against Trump. I'm just scratching the surface. The plan is loaded with actions ranging from changing labor rules to effectively end overtime pay, that's on page 592, to slaughtering wild horses, that's on page 528. You can do your own deep dive on their website, project2025.org. I'm Alan Piper at apiper13. Follow Courier Newsroom for all of the information you need about the stakes of the 2024 elections.
Project 2025 started in 2022. Basically, they were pissed that Trump's plan to take over didn't work. So, especially if they can get a Republican president, they have plans. You can even sign up for them on project2025.org. What does it mean? Well, they want to replace everybody in the executive branch that isn't them. And Trump has alluded to this in his speeches, like wipe out everybody in the IRS, wipe out everybody in the FBI, replace it with loyal people. It's a slow coup. I mean, I don't think they really care what Republican gets into power, but once you have a Republican president, you just slowly take away all the branches that could in any way stop you. Kind of like what Bibi was doing in Israel before all this. And once you've taken away anybody who could stop you, you get to stay king. And once you control the FBI and once you control the IRS, you control the people. I mean, people don't believe it, but Trump already tried to do it. This is just part 2.